Hello, everyone. I hope by God's grace you are all well. I know we are all preparing for our exam and we are all we are all hot right now. But we also have to do the needful to also help people. At least we are all learning, and sometimes when we share ideas, we understand better. That is why I feel the need to do this recording to help us. Or even though most of us have been testing me. Um, have been calling me that they need something. So I have to also do the needful thing. That is why I'm doing all these things to help all of us. My name is Bafo Joseph Japan, but you can call me Nana Bafo. And today we are going to study the climate change and sustainable development. In order to understand climate change, there is a need to know what sustainable development is, so that when you begin to experience some changes, some challenges, then you get to know that there is something happening to sustainable development due to climatic changes and non-climatic changes. So when we say sustainable development, what then is sustainable development? Sustainable development, defined as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. WCED 1987 as a reference entails a harmonious integration of a sound and viable economy, responsible governance, people's empowerment, social cohesion, and ecological integrity. So sustainable development means emphasizes the importance of balancing economic growth, social progress, and environmental protection. Thus, embarking on long-term developmental projects to benefit the future generation also. Embarking on developmental opportunities that are going to last for a very long time to benefit the future generation. So when we say there is a sustainable development, it means the country is being developed in the sense that they are no more developing, they are already developed. For 100 years, for 200 years, people who are going to be born, people who will visit that particular country are going to enjoy some developmental opportunities. So they embark on long-term developmental opportunities for future generations to also come and enjoy. A classical example, let me use the Akosumo Dam as an example over here. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah built the Akosumo Dam. The Akosumo Dam has been there and has been servicing Ghana for more than 20 years, several years. And we are all benefiting from now. So this shows that there is a sustainable development, irrespective of the Akosumo Dam. If I'm relating it to the Akosumo Dam, I'm not saying Ghana is a developed state, but if I give you an example of a long-term developmental project, I can use the Akosumo Dam because it has been there and it has been working for many ages. And we are still enjoying them. Sustainable development does not mean economic stagnation or giving up economic growth for the sake of environment. You shouldn't give up. Sometimes there could be economic stagnation, but you have to work harder. You have to push harder to develop your economy. You shouldn't give up because there are some changes and things are not going on too well. There are some challenges, so you are giving up. You have to work and work and work till you get the perfect thing. That is sustainable development. It should entail promoting economic development as a requisite for maintaining environmental quality. That's providing the quality goods. goods that are quality, because when they are quality, that's when they last longer for long term, for other generations to also what enjoy them, or enjoy those opportunities. If you don't provide quality things, if you are building a road and you build a road within 2 years, it spoils, and you go and use another money or spend money on building these same roads, it's not an example of a sustainable development. So to ensure sustainable development, you have to give out the quality ones. The environmental quality is an essential element for sustainable development. Let's look at the link between climate change and sustainable development. So the link between climate change and sustainable development, I'm over here. I don't know if you see it on the screen when I scroll the arrow. So the link between climate change and sustainable development stems from the fact that climate change is a what? It's a constraint to development. When we say something is a constraint to development, it means climate change poses significant challenges to development, as it can impact various aspects such as agriculture, water, and even resources. The climate change is what brings out the challenges to sustainable development, because there are some changes. There are certain phases that we are not used to. And therefore, like as example, when you came to Legon, you are not used to working alone. You are not used to living alone. Sometimes you have some challenges. You are not used to the campus. So you walk from Sabah to JQB, you misplace yourself. You don't even know where to go due to these changes. So you are not used to a particular ecosystem or an environment. That is when you begin to have changes, then you sit down to bring out some solutions. So the climate change is what poses the challenges. And sustainable development is a key capacity for mitigation and adaptation. When we say mitigation and adaptation, what does it mean? Let me say, sustainable development provides a pathway to address these challenges by building capacities for both mitigation and adaptation strategies. It's what provides the pathway to solve these problems. What do we mean by mitigation efforts? The mitigation effort aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and limit the severity of climate change. The mitigation efforts, it aims to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and limit the severity of climate change. Well, if I'm saying greenhouse gas, then we should get the greenhouse gas emissions are certain gases released in the atmosphere that attract heat. So a sustainable development is going to build, going to find some strategies that are going to what? Reduce the greenhouse gas and its attraction of heat that is going to sometimes destroy or certain things, because when there are a lot of heat at the environment, we do not engage in a lot of activities. Sometimes when the sun shines on campus too much, you don't even work on campus. You're always indoor, even though you have to go for lectures. But because of the severe heat that is on campus, you begin to sleep, and that becomes a minus for you. So the sustainable development try to build these strategies to solve certain problems like that. And when we say adaptation strategies, what are adaptation strategies? Because after the capacity of mitigation and adaptation, it follows that strategies for dealing with sustainable development and climate change have many common elements, so that applying them together creates where have I gotten to? Synergies. I've gotten to this side. Let me take it again. It follows that strategies for dealing with sustainable development and climate change have many common elements, so that applying them together creates synergies. Adaptation strategies. It helps communities to adapt the change that are already occurring, finding innovation solutions to promote both environmental sustainability and economic progress. So after having this climatic change and having these mitigation efforts to reduce these greenhouse gases, then the adaptation strategies will serve as the pathway for communities to adapt to these climatic changes to promote environmental sustainability and socio-economic progress. Because when you adapt to it and you cope with it and you're used to it, that is where you get back to your normal life and begin to have a sustainable environment and socio-economic progress. Let's now look at climate change in Africa. Observed and projected climatic changes. The Intergovernmental Panel of Climate Change, IPCC. They are the references to this climate change and sustainable development. Well, I think we should talk about them a little bit so that we appreciate the efforts that they give to us. What is the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel Climate Change? The IPCC is an international body that provides scientific assessments on climate change. So their work is to provide some scientific assessment on climate change. It assesses the latest research and provides policymakers with information to make informed decisions. So maybe the study of biology, studying human activities, chemistry and physics, the study of politics, that's studying politics, and knowing certain things about politics. The IPCC is more focused on climate change. They give assessments, scientific assessments on climate change. And by their assessments, they do research and provide policymakers with information to make informed decisions. That is them. And they have some definitions for climate change. They have some terminologies. When people are doing a particular thing, what does it mean? When people see these things, when people see some changes, what do they have to do? When they do those changes, what is the terminology given to that? They have certain connotations, certain definitions that really helps and really promotes their understanding in learning climate change. So the first definition, and please let's take note of these definitions. We could be asked, it could be defined and the options will be there for you to choose what terminology fits that particular definition. And we have to pay attention to these definitions. Excuse me. So the first connotation or the first terminology to know is the vulnerability of climate change. Please pardon me when I'm finding it difficult to pronounce certain words. I'm very tired. It is 1:30 a.m. and I'm doing this recording. I've been studying and making notes together to help all of us find slides so that we could all benefit. I don't have to go and sit at the examination center, then I'll be doing it alone. We should all pass and pass well. That is why we are all doing these things, to help all of us excel, at least the little bits that we can do. We try to do that. I'm very tired. That is why I'm struggling to explain certain things to your understanding at the normal days when I do them. But tonight, I think I'm going to make some petty mistakes, but please forgive me. I'll try my best to prevent these mistakes. So like a sample vulnerability of what? Vulnerability of climate change. Vulnerability of climate change. Vulnerability of climate change. Please, I'm saying it too, so that you don't say I don't know how to pronounce it. Vulnerability of climate change. When we say vulnerability of climate change, as we see on our screen, is the degree to which a system is what susceptible to or unable to cope with adverse effects of climate change, including climate change variability, yes, including climate change variability and extremes. Hey, today they are why God. Including climate change variability and extremes. Vulnerability is a function of the character, the magnitude, and rate of climate change and variation to which a system is exposed, its sensitivity, and its adaptive capacity. Instead of a kind, one needs to be brave, but let me explain it down. The vulnerability of to climate change refers to how susceptible a region or community is to the impact of climate change. It can depend on factors like geographical location, infrastructure, and access to resources. It helps in identifying areas that need adaptation strategies to minimize the negative effects of climate change. So that is all about vulnerability to climate change. The last definition I gave is what is going to help us understand it. The main purpose of it is that it helps in identifying areas that need adaptation strategies to minimize the negative effects of climate change. So aspects like geographical location, infrastructures, and even resources. Sometimes the vulnerability to climate change is going to address these people. It's going to help us identify that these are the places that we need to bring out some strategic policies to minimize the negative effects of climatic change. So how do we even minimize climatic change? We can invest in infrastructure that can withstand extreme weather events, such as building stronger homes and flood-resistant structures. So in a place whereby we experience a lot of flood, the climatic change that leads to a lot of flood, how do we bring out some strategies to minimize that negative effects of that climate change, which is flood? An example is investing in infrastructure that can withstand extreme weather events, such as building stronger homes at these coastal areas or building flood-resistant structures. We can build something that could guard that particular place so that whenever the flood wants to occur or whenever the water wants to come to the dry land, these buildings can hold this water and prevent them from coming into the city to come and destroy a lot of things. So the vulnerability to climate change is something that addresses, it signals us, it makes us know the specific areas that need these strategies to prevent the negative effects of climate change. That is all about that vulnerability to climate change that I've been fumbling to pronounce. Pardon me for that. The next one is adaptation to climate change. When we say adaptation to climate change, what does it mean? That is adjustment in natural or human systems in response to actual or expected climatic stimuli or their effects, which moderates harm or exploits beneficial opportunities. I take it again. Adaptation to climate change. Adjustment in natural or human systems in response to actual or expected climatic stimuli or their effects, which moderate harm or exploit beneficial opportunities. It means that the actions taken to adjust and prepare for the impact of climate change. It involves implementing strategies to reduce vulnerability and building resilience in various sectors like agriculture and human settlement. It's all about finding ways to cope with the strive in climate change, to finding solutions. When I was talking about the link between climate change and sustainable development, I think I spoke about it a little bit. So yeah, finding ways, solutions to cope with it, because sometimes when these climate changes, okay, they stay for a very long period of time and we have to adapt to it. So how do we adapt to it? That is what the adaptation to climate change talks about. We doing certain things, we finding ways and means. When I was talking about the floods something, we could find a way by building these fence at these coastal areas so that when flood wants to okay, it pushes the water back and prevents it from coming to destroy homes and other businesses and farmlands at those geographical areas. So that could be a way to adapt with it for a period of time and find other ways or means to cope with it too as well. And when we talk about adaptive capacity, the ability of a system to adjust to climate change, including, yes, I think it's similar to the second one that I spoke about, so we don't have to waste much time on this. Yeah. As you can see, I think this picture too is going to help us in an understanding whatever we are doing over here. Habitats and ecosystems in Africa are under threat from a variety of stresses such as deforestation, land degradation, and a heavy dependence on biomass for energy, to which climate change is likely to be an additional stress factor. Normally, we are being stressed because we are depending on a whole lot of things. We are practicing deforestation, land degradation, and other things, depending on these biomass for energy. And right now, climate change is coming. So if climate change is coming, then it means we are going towards that is going to be an additional stress for us because we are not going to take it easy because we are already suffering and there's going to be a climate change to as well. When you talk about biomass, I think I'll do that. I'll explain that in my submissions over there. Let's read something small. This warming occur at the rate of about 0.05 degrees Celsius per decade, with slightly more warming in the season from June to November than from December to May. A temperature rise of about 0.1 degrees Celsius per decade is expected for the next 2 decades. Even if greenhouse gas and I don't know how to pronounce this one, so I'll skip it. Even greenhouse gases what are kept at a year 2000 levels. IPCC, I know you all know IPCC right now. IPCC has reported that extreme events, including flood and drought, are becoming increasingly frequent and severe. They are becoming increasingly frequent and severe in the sense that we have not been able to adapt these climatic changes and we have not been able to find solutions to it. So they keep on harming and tormenting us. Certain regions of Africa are more prone to such extreme events than others. It is probable that the increased frequency of recorded disasters is as a result of the combination of climatic change and socio-economic and demographic changes. So because these things are increasing, they are increasing as a result of these climatic changes. Because when I read the extract over here, the bolded extract over here, we are already practicing deforestation, land degradation, and biomass for energy. And right now we are going to have these climatic changes, and it's going to increase it because the climatic change add a stress or worsen the case. They're already suffering, and right now we've not able to even do certain things to overcome the suffering. And right now the climatic change is coming. What are we going to do? It's going to bring a stress. I think someone just tested me to explain the biomass for energy. So when we say the biomass, what does the biomass mean? The traditional biomass refers to the use of organic materials such as woods, crop residues, and animal dung as a source of energy for cooking, heating, and other domestic purposes. As you can see over here, the picture clearly shows that these woods and things, we depend on these things, these crop leaves and other things. That is what we use for cooking and heating, roasting meats and other kind of things. So these are them. So we go and cut down these trees to do these things without replanting or replacing them. And that is deforestation. That harms us, makes the soil loses its nutrients when rain begins to wipe the nutrients of the soil. Let's get back to work. What climate change means for Africa. Habitats and ecosystem in Africa are currently under threat for a variety. I think I've read this. Yeah, deforestation was over there. I've read that one over here. So let me come here. In Sub-Saharan Africa, over 80% of the population depends on traditional biomass for cooking. Look at this. Over 80%. We will all find out what happened to the people at the Sub-Saharan Africa. Climate change is likely to be an additional stress factor to them. Figure 1 and figure 2. Why is it going to be an additional factor? Because you're already destroying the land. We're already doing things that are going to harm us. And right now, we are going to what? We are going to live with these new climatic changes. The key vulnerable sector identified by IPCC in 2007 include agriculture, food, and water. Sub-Saharan Africa is expected to suffer the most, not only in terms of reduced agricultural productivity and increased water insecurity, but also in increased exposure to coastal flooding and extreme climatic events and increased risks to human health. Because they are not doing anything, they are not trying to bring out these strategies to solve these problems. They are just practicing deforestation and other things. They depend heavily on biomass for energy, for cooking, and those kind of things. 80% of the population depend on these traditional biomasses. And right now, they are suffering the most because these climatic change, such as flooding, droughts, and other things, what have you, that they are also going to cope with. So even the trees there and the buildings that are going to build at the coastal areas, we are doing land degradation. They are doing illegal mining over there. They are doing deforestation over there. So how can you protect yourself when flood occurs? It's just going to destroy everything. Africa's vulnerability to climate change is what? You think Africa say to talk to me. Private. Yeah, for what? That way, I guess I catch African vulnerability. What is it? Yeah, Africa's vulnerability to climate change is what? Is that, hey, that's like, see, they didn't know me. Exacerbated, please, if someone should help me pronounce this right. Okay. Yes, by a number of non-climatic factors, including endemic poverty, hunger, high prevalence of disease, chronic conflict, low level of development, and low adaptive capacity. The average income per capita is in most African countries is lower now than it was 30 years ago. Sub-Saharan Africa is the only region that has had negative annual growth per capita across domestic products. I think I should end this report. I'm very tired. So the picture below shows the various countries and their climatic changes that they experience. I think I've sent the slides so we can also look at them. They are not too necessary for us over here right now. So let's look at climate change and equity issue. Africa has the world's lowest carbon dioxide. Hey, Africa. Just say, hey, Africa. Climate change is now recognized as an equity issue because the world's poorest people, those who contribute least to the atmospheric buildup of what greenhouse gases, are the least equipped to deal with the negative impact of climate change. Look at this, Africa. We don't contribute to it. We are not doing anything to help. But yet, yes, too, we are the ones spoiling it. Look at them. Water that we can use to grow crops and other things. Look at. They're not saying don't feed the animals, but should they be standing in the rivers? These are the same rivers that people are going to fetch and used to do domestic chores, used to cook to eat, and they will fall sick. And you use money to go and buy medicine. That's what will serve as a challenge to your economy. When people are dying and people are getting sick, and we need to provide them with a lot of drugs who are all contributing. Also, at the Kakara Canon, I was saying, the Sustainable development in Africa cannot be addressed effectively without accounting for the impact of what climate change on agriculture, conflict and disease patterns, all of which have particular impact on the poor. Sustainable development and adaptation are mutually reinforcing. An important conclusion of IPCC is that adaptation measures, if taken up in the sustainable development framework, can diminish negative impact from future climate change. That's all. When we have these adaptation measures, when we begin to bring out these solutions, it's going to reduce the negative effects of these climate changes. Negative effects, as I brought the flood something, we are going to use that. The flood something, when we build around it, when we build the fence, it holds the water and pushes it back and cannot come and destroy it. When we are doing these things, these are these are the things that are going to reduce the negative effects of climate change. Let's look at the key challenges for Africa. In facing the challenges of climate change, the priorities for Africa countries are achieving high political recognition for Africa on the platform of international negotiations. These political things are very important because at the ECOWAS and EU and those kind of things, our politicians are our representatives. They make dealings, they do things on behalf of we the people over there. So they have to what? Do these things over there. They have to get these political recognitions whereby they could seek for help. And these international organizations that they join comes to help us. Allocating resources appropriately. When we are doing something, I'm not saying that we shouldn't extract food, but when we extract food, what should we do? We should cover the potholes, the holes that we create. When we are doing deforestation, when we are cutting down trees, what should we do? We should replace them, we should replant them. So that in future, when you want some, you come and what? You come and get some. But we are not allocating the resource properly. We are not constructing roads properly. We are not building fence around our river bodies to prevent flood and other things. How do we expect to have a sustainable development? It serves as a challenge. Ensuring food and energy security, this is self-explanatory. Managing and adapting to long-term climate risks, that is also self-explanatory. I think I skipped one of the slides. Yeah, this one. I think this will be our last slide then. Yeah, we are done for it. I know I haven't been able to really explain things to the way they are supposed to be explained because I'm even tired. I'm not used to this slides. I just got it and I have to wade through and try to break certain things down so that we all find our way through and we all get some little information for our exams. I hope by God's grace we will all be fine. So this shows that at the northern place, they don't really have water over there. And at the eastern, rainfall is likely to increase in some part of East Africa according to some protection, resulting in various hydrological outcomes. That's also at the Eastern Africa and at the Western Africa, impact on crops under a range of scenarios. That's also over there. And at the southern part of Africa, assessment of water ability. At the southern part, we always have water. We have access to water to do our things, do irrigation and other things over there. So that is all about it. Please, let's kindly get the slides and go through. I know by God's grace, you're all going to be fine with everything. At least the needful things that we are supposed to know. I think one way or the other, I've been able to talk about those kind of things. I wish you all the best in in our exams, and I wish we all come out with flying colors. Thank you so much. Me both for Kramba because my brain, I'm sure me now some recording. Bye.